Facebook Live. This week I'm going back to my roots, as I promised that I would. Once a month I would go back and start talking about different mental health conditions, different disabilities, to raise awareness, reduce the stigma, and to give people a starting point from which they can begin their journey if they need it around that condition. And the reason I do it is because a long time ago, one of my kids was diagnosed with a disability, and that was it. We were just given the name of the disability. We weren't given any information. We weren't told there were support groups out there. We weren't told what to do next. And I don't want anybody else to feel like that. I never wanted anybody else to feel like that again. So that's why I do it. That's the original reason behind the blog. So let's get on. This week or this month, I'm talking about cystic fibrosis. It happens to coincide, I know, with their fundraiser. I didn't know that at the time that I was doing it. It was just on the list of my blogs that I made at the beginning of the year. And so let's get into it. So cystic fibrosis, what is it? Cystic fibrosis, or you might hear the term CF. It is a genetic condition, and it is particularly high in Ireland per capita. So that's the amount of people in the country. There's a high incidence of CF. Babies in Ireland are now routinely screened for it when they get their heel prick test done, and which is a good thing. It's hugely progressive. That's been happening since, I believe, the second half of 2011. So, and it is something that kids are, diagnosed pretty quickly with, because it is such a serious illness. Now, it is a life-threatening condition. It is a lot, an awful lot of people die quite young from it, but it is getting better, and people are living longer. So that is a good thing. A lot more could be done for it. I do know that from family members. I do know that are very heavily involved with this. That a lot more could be done. I've heard an awful lot of people talk about it that actually are affected by it and have campaigned, and they're young people that are campaigning. We're talking about teenagers here, and very young people in their 20s, because they're the people that are having to get out and campaign, and they're the ones that are diagnosed with it as babies, but they're not living very long lives. So, that's the kind of population and their families that are out campaigning to try and get better conditions for these people. So as I said, it is, it is a genetic condition. And what happens is, from my understanding of reading up about it, is that this gene leads to a production of mucus that's thicker and stickier than normal, and this then affects the lungs, the digestive system, the two of those in particular, but it also affects the other organs as well. And as you can imagine, then that leads to breathing difficulties and can lead to severe lung problems, but also other complications, which I've listed out in the blog, and that, the complications can range from respiratory problems, digestive problems, reproductive organ problems. There's a whole host, and I've listed all those out in the blog, so do check that out. There's also a higher risk of diabetes and osteoporosis with this condition. Unfortunately, as of yet, there is no known cure for it. But good nutrition and therapy, and they have to have a lot of therapy every single day for this, and this can help to keep people, healthier and living longer. But it is like a 2 to 3 hour regime every day that these people have to go through. These children, these teens, these young people have to go through every day of their lives to keep them alive and to keep them as healthy as possible and living as long as possible. So, that has knock-on effects, as you can imagine, for their mental health, but also for schooling, for attending college or work or anything like that. So, think about that. Think about if that was you in that position, how you would cope. Symptoms. So symptoms, these, as I said, kids are getting screened earlier. They're getting diagnosed. They're getting screened at birth in Ireland. I know there are screening programs from what I've read on other CF support group websites that they are getting screened early in other countries as well. So the symptoms can be, and I'm going to read them, sorry, very salty tasting skin, persistent cough, shortness of breath, wheezing, poor weight and growth despite an excess appetite, and greasy, bulky stools. Sorry. So, as I said, there can be a huge amount of, complications. And I've listed out a variety of treatments because there are a variety of treatments with regards to lung therapies and gastrointestinal therapies. It's quite detailed. And of course, it will be tailored to the individual and what they need at that moment in time. So I am not going to go into those this morning. It's too detailed, but I have tried to list out as many as I could find out about, and I put them in the blog. So do check that out. If that's what you need to, you need that information, go and check that out. I've also included links to the national organisations, not just in Ireland and the UK, but in the world. So it does affect people around the world. But it's more so, European genetic. I believe that's what it is. It's to do with the white European genetic condition. That if you're descendant from there, it tends to be a condition that's very high in that group. As I said, treatment is a 2 to 3 hour regime every day. The cause, as I said at the beginning, it is genetic. And in that, both parents have to be carriers of the gene. It's not just a case that one parent is the carrier of the gene. Both parents have to be carriers of the gene. They come together, have the baby, and then there is a 25% likelihood that that child will be born with CF. There is a 50% likelihood that one of their other children would be also a carrier. And as I said, there is support. There's great support. I know there's great support. As I said, this is something that has affected our family. So there is great support out there. And the people involved, the families involved are wonderful. If you need them, they are wonderful. They have all the information you need, much more than I could ever give you. This is only a kicking off point, these blogs. So, do check out the links there and link in with somebody. If you are a parent of a newly diagnosed baby, the supports out there are really, really good. You need to be talking to other parents who are ahead of you. I always say that to a parent who has a child diagnosed with a disability. Talk to parents that are ahead of you in the game. Their children are a little bit older than yours. They know, where to access the services. They know all the rights and entitlements. And you need to know this. This is a recognised disability. You need to know this. You need to know what services to access. It isn't automatic that you're told this. So a national group is the place to go. Talking to other parents is the place to go. The other thing I would say to you is if you are a parent of a child who has been diagnosed with a disability, any disability even, or if somebody that has been diagnosed with a mental health condition in your family, you also need to be talking to somebody. It's vital that you talk to somebody. You need to come to terms with what's happened, and you need, support. And that's something I can give you, not just because I'm a psychologist, but because I've been there, done that, and worn the t-shirt. So I do offer that service. And in saying that, I have a free group for mums that I offer, support to. So if you want to join that, there is a link in the description for the blog, appointments, and to join the group, the mums group. So do check that out. I'm going to leave it there. As I said, this blog is only a starting point. There is a lot more detail in the blog than I can give you in the video this morning. I go into all the treatments, all the therapies, and there is links there if you do need it to the national organisations. Good morning, Deirdre, as always, and to everybody else who's watching live. Thank you very much for doing so, and I will see you all again next Saturday morning. Have a good week, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.